I need to tell you something before I get into this. I've started writing this down 4 separate times over the past 2 years and deleted it every time. Not because I don't remember what happened. I remember every detail with the kind of clarity that only comes from something that genuinely frightened you. But because every time I try to put it into words, I'm aware of how it's going to sound. I know what people think when they read stories like this. I've thought the same thing myself about other people's stories, that they're exaggerating, that they misheard something, that fear has a way of filling in gaps with things that feel more significant than they are. I've interrogated every part of what happened to me that night. I've looked for the rational explanation. I've given every possible mundane answer a fair shot, and I keep ending up in the same place. I don't have one. So I'm going to tell you what happened, exactly what happened, and I'm going to let you decide what to do with it. I was 20 years old. Summer break after freshman year of college. I'd come back to my hometown for 3 months, and within about 48 hours, I had completely regressed to being 16, sleeping until noon, eating whatever was in the fridge, staying up until 4 in the morning, playing games in my old bedroom that still had the same band posters I'd put up in middle school. There's something deeply comfortable about going home, the familiar weight of your own childhood. I needed it after 9 months of being relentlessly, exhaustingly new somewhere. My 2 best friends from high school, I'm going to call them Marcus and Dev, were both home too. Marcus was working a summer job at a landscaping company his uncle owned. Dev was supposed to be doing an internship that had fallen through. So he had the whole summer free and absolutely nothing to fill it with except the same games we'd been playing together since we were 14. The 3 of us had a standing Discord call most nights. Sometimes we'd play the same game together. Sometimes we'd each be doing our own thing and just talk in the background, like we were all in the same room. It was one of those friendships where the silence is as comfortable as the conversation. I don't take that for granted now the way I used to. That particular night was a Wednesday. I know because Marcus had mentioned earlier that he had to be up at 5:30 for work, and he'd logged off around midnight with that specific kind of tired sighing that people do when they're genuinely dreading their alarm. It was just me and Dev after that. We'd been working through an open-world survival game for about 2 weeks. The kind with base building and resource gathering and enemies that spawned at night. We had a good setup by that point, solid base on high ground, well stocked, a routine we'd fallen into naturally. We worked well together in games the same way we worked well together in real life. Always had. Around 2 in the morning, Dev suggested we open the server to public players. We'd done it before, a handful of times. Usually it was uneventful. Someone would wander in, look around, help themselves to some of our resources, and leave. Dev said it might be fun to see who turned up at 2 in the morning. I said sure. We flipped the setting, and within about 4 minutes, 3 players had joined. The first 2 were unremarkable. They ran around the map enthusiastically, picked up a few items, waved at us with the in-game gesture, and eventually wandered off. Benign. The third player joined about 90 seconds after the first 2. Dev noticed before I did. He said, "Hey, check the map for a sec." I pulled up the overlay, 3 player markers, 2 moving around on the eastern side, and 1 on the western edge of the map. in the far corner where the terrain was mostly flat and empty, just standing there. Probably loading in, I said. Maybe, Dev said. I looked at the username, Watcher. Just that single word with a capital W. No numbers after it. No underscores. Just Watcher. Clean. Like it had been waiting. I went back to what I was doing. 5 minutes passed. I checked the map again. Watcher hadn't moved. Still in the far corner. Still perfectly still. The other 2 players had left the server entirely. It was just us and Watcher now. His marker sat at the edge of the map like a period at the end of a sentence. Still not moving, Dev said. Maybe he fell asleep, I said. Some people queue up and pass out at 2 in the morning? Sure, probably. We both laughed. We went back to playing. 10 minutes, 15. I'd honestly half forgotten about it when I heard the voice. It came through my headset clearly, not buried in static, not distant, not ambiguous, clear and close and low, a voice that was almost aggressively calm, the kind of calm that doesn't feel relaxed. It feels deliberate, controlled, and it said, simply, without any preamble, I can hear both of you. I pulled my headset off so fast I nearly knocked my monitor over. I sat there for a second with the headset in my hand, just processing. Then I put it back on. Dev. Yeah? Did you just say something? Like, not in the game. In the background of your mic. No? He said. And I could hear in the way he said it that he wasn't brushing me off. He was genuinely puzzled. I haven't said anything for like 10 minutes. Why? What did you hear? A voice. Through your mic, someone said they could hear both of us. There was a pause. Then Dev said very carefully, my door is closed. My little brother went to bed 2 hours ago. I'm alone in my room. We both went quiet. And in that quiet, I looked at the map overlay still sitting in the corner of my screen. Watcher had moved. He was no longer in the far corner of the map. He was directly outside our base, standing at the main entrance, not attacking the walls, not trying to find a way in, just standing there, his character model perfectly still, facing the gate. The specific quality of the fear I felt in that moment is hard to articulate. It wasn't panic. It was something more foundational than that. The feeling you get when something that was operating at the edge of your awareness suddenly moves to the center of it. And you realize you should have been paying closer attention from the start. Dev tried the in-game text chat. Hey, who are you? No response. I switched to voice and said hello. Nothing. I asked what he wanted. The character didn't move, didn't respond, just stood there, facing our gate. Kick him, Dev said. I kicked him from the server. His marker vanished from the map. I turned off public access. Closed. Done. Dev laughed, slightly forced. He said it was probably just someone messing with us. His little brother sometimes wandered into his room late at night. Maybe that's what I'd heard. He said the Watcher thing was a good bit. But it was obviously just someone trying to get a reaction. I wanted to agree with him. I almost did. Then my join request notification appeared in the corner of my screen. Watcher is requesting to join your server. I stared at it. I don't know how long. Long enough for Dev to notice I'd gone quiet and ask what was wrong. I told him. I heard him stop moving in the game. I declined the request. I double-checked that public access was still off. It was. The join request shouldn't have been possible. When public access is disabled, the server isn't visible. There's no mechanism by which a player should be able to find your server and request access if it isn't listed publicly. I've since looked this up extensively. The consistent answer is that it shouldn't be able to happen. it happened. We kept playing for maybe 8 more minutes. I was trying to settle back into the rhythm of it, telling myself the same things Dev had said. Glitch in the system. Weird coincidence. Someone who got lucky with a guess and committed to the bit. These things happen. And then I noticed that Dev's audio bar in Discord had gone flat. Not the visual flatness of someone who's just not talking. The absolute silence of a microphone that isn't picking up anything. No background noise, no ambient hum of a room, no tiny sounds of breathing or movement that you don't consciously register, but that are always there when someone is on the other end of a call. Just nothing. Dev. His character hadn't moved in the game either. Dev? You there? Nothing. I called his name 6 more times over the next 2 minutes. Nothing changed. He wasn't responding in Discord. He wasn't moving in game. And the silence coming through his microphone was the specific quality of silence that feels less like absence and more like something holding its breath. Then his microphone crackled, one sharp burst of static, and then the voice again. Same flat calm, same deliberate quality, same absolute absence of any emotion that might make it feel human. It said, "He can't hear you right now." I don't remember closing Discord. I don't remember picking up my phone. I remember being in the middle of Dev's contact page with my thumb on the call button and my heart doing something in my chest that I didn't have a word for. 7 rings. Voicemail. I called again. 7 rings. Voicemail. I sat at my desk and tried to think clearly. Dev lived 4 blocks away. 4 blocks. I was calculating whether I should get in my car and drive over there, whether I was overreacting, whether I was about to show up at my best friend's house at 2:45 in the morning because of a voice in a video game. 3rd call. Dev picked up on the 2nd ring. "Hello?" His voice was completely normal, slightly confused, slightly groggy, but normal. "Dev." "What just happened?" A pause. "What do you mean?" "I'm right here. My Discord crashed. Your Discord crashed." "Yeah, just like closed itself. No error or anything. It was just suddenly not open anymore. I figured you could still see me in game. I was about to relog. Why? How long was I gone?" I told him what I'd heard. The voice, the specific words. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said he hadn't said anything. He'd been in his room alone. His Discord had closed, and he'd sat there for what felt like about 2 minutes before his phone rang. 2 minutes. Whatever I experienced on that end of the call lasted longer than 2 minutes. I know, because I called his phone 3 times. 7 rings each time before voicemail. That's not 2 minutes of silence. That's not even close. Neither of us mentioned the discrepancy out loud. I think we both noticed it. I think neither of us wanted to pull on that thread. We looked up the account the next morning. Watcher. Created the previous evening. 0 game history. No friends. No profile information. No activity of any kind. By the time we checked, it was already gone. The platform returned an error saying the account didn't exist. I've spent 2 years sitting with this. I've gone through every rational explanation methodically. Voice changer routed through a third-party application. Possible in theory, but I've never found a mechanism that would actually produce that result. Dev pranking me. I've known Dev since we were 9 years old, and I would bet my life on the fact that he wasn't. A genuine audio hallucination on my part, except for the join request, which was on my screen, which Dev also confirmed shouldn't have been technically possible. I keep coming back to one thing, one detail I can't make fit into any explanation I've found. He can't hear you right now. Not he stepped away. not "he's gone." A specific, present tense, deliberate statement about the state of my friend at that exact moment, spoken in a voice that came through Dev's microphone, from a room Dev says he was alone in. I don't know what was in that room with him. I don't know what those missing minutes felt like from his side, or whether the 2 minutes he remembers and the longer stretch I experienced represent the same span of time at all. I don't know what Watcher was, or what it wanted, or why it chose that night and that server, and those two specific people in their separate rooms 4 blocks apart. I know that I've never turned public access on again. I know that for about 6 months afterward, I called Dev every night before we started a session, just to hear his voice and confirm he was there before we logged in. He never asked me why. I think he understood. And I know that sometimes, in the middle of a late night session, when everything is quiet, and it's just me and the game and the ambient hum of my PC, I'll hear something at the edge of my microphone's range, something low and flat and calm, and I always close the application before it finishes speaking.